A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Tuesday morning and we're back again with Breakfast News. I'm Rukma and with me is Preeti. A very good morning.
Good morning, Rukma.
And viewers, over the next 1 hour, we take you through the major stories making headlines across India and the world. We start off with news about the 12th Brics Summit hosted by Russia that begins today. Prime Minister Modi will be attending the virtual summit. Also news on Bihar government formation and details of the second phase of the Malabar Exercise that begins today. All that and much more over the next 1 hour.
Yes, indeed, it's a packed 1 hour ahead for you. We'll also get you updates on how India is putting forth an impressive recovery rate when we talk of COVID-19 situation across the country. For the 44th consecutive day, the number of recoveries have been more than the cases, and also Bharat Biotech has launched the phase 3 of its vaccine trial. Added to that, we'll also let you know how the IOC has expressed optimism that the Tokyo Olympics will be held next year, and also it will allow spectators even to watch the Olympic Games. We'll get you all that and more. Stay with us for the next 1 hour. First, we get to the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to participate in 12th Brics Summit today. Theme of the summit is Global Sustainability, Shared Security and Innovative Development. Summit being held in a virtual format to focus on cooperation in the war against terrorism, trade, health, energy and tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. India to take over Brics leadership for 2021.
Nitish Kumar takes over the reins of Bihar for the 7th time. Oath administered to 14 other ministers. First meeting of cabinet to be held today. Prime Minister congratulates Nitish Kumar and assures all support from the centre.
Four-day-long second phase of Exercise Malabar 2020 to be conducted in Northern Arabian Sea from today. Second phase exercise will involve coordinated operations of increasing complexity between the navies of Australia, India, Japan and the United States.
Country's fight against COVID-19 continues. Colleges to open in Karnataka from today after 8 months of pandemic shutdown. Number of recoveries more than fresh cases for 44th consecutive day, leading to a further rise in recovery rate to 93.27%. Bharat Biotech launches phase 3 trial of COVAXIN.
US pharma company Moderna claims phase 3 study of its COVID vaccine meets statistical criteria with a vaccine efficacy of 94.5%. Global COVID-19 cases rise to more than 5.5 crore with more than 13.3 lakh deaths.
As the world grapples with sharp rise in COVID infections, the International Olympic Committee Chief Thomas Bach expresses confidence that Tokyo Games will be held successfully next year, even allowing spectators to attend the ceremony. Alright, those are the top stories we're tracking this hour. Up next, we get to the news in detail and we talk of India's participation at the 12th Brics Summit first.
As we were telling you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be attending the 12th Brics Summit today evening at the invitation of host President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. The theme is Global Stability, Shared Security and Innovative Growth. The meeting will be held in virtual format.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be participating in the 12th Brics Summit hosted by Russia on Tuesday. The theme for this year's summit is Global Stability, Shared Security and Innovative Growth. Due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, the meet will be conducted in a virtual format, being held in the backdrop of the 75th anniversary of the UN and in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The leaders would be possibly discussing intra-Brics cooperation, reform of the multilateral global system, measures to mitigate the impact of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, cooperation in counter-terrorism, trade, health, energy and people-to-people exchanges. India, which is to take over the chair of this grouping of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa for next year, will host the next summit in 2021. India has already chaired the grouping earlier in 2012 and 2016. BRICS is a grouping of the 5 leading and emerging economies of the world, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The first BRICS summit took place in the year 2009 in Yekaterinburg in Russia. In 2010, South Africa joined the association, making it BRICS. One of the major objectives of the grouping is broadening, deepening and intensifying cooperation among the member countries for mutually beneficial, sustainable and equitable development. The group accounts for 30% of the combined world GDP, which is around $20 trillion. It collectively represents more than 40% of the world population. Amritpal Singh's report for DD India.
And joining us now is our correspondent Arun Sharma with more details on the 12th BRICS Summit that begins today evening. Well, Arun, the 12th BRICS Summit that begins today, we see will be held in a context where the leaders of the BRICS countries would be dealing with a lot of new and added responsibilities. Could you break it up for us, the kind of issues that will be taken up when they talk about global sustainability and shared security?
Absolutely, Rukma. Important aspect as far as this BRICS Summit is that it is being held in a virtual format, and Russia is the chairman as far as this time's BRICS Summit is concerned. So earlier also we know this fact that when the SCO Summit was held, Russia was holding this chairmanship. So as far as India's context is concerned, India is likely to bring various issues, right from economic growth to collaborations in various COVID vaccine development part, to terrorism, to various aspects as far as growth is concerned. So when we talk about this year's BRICS Summit, why is it important? Because next year, the BRICS Summit, India will be holding the chairmanship for the next year, that means for 2021. So yes, all eyes will be on India as well as to what is the vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as far as this year's BRICS Summit is concerned. Important aspect is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi on various other international forum earlier also has mentioned the point that how India has come out and helped during the COVID-19 pandemic time, be it its neighbors or the other countries as well. And the focus is likely to be on the part that as far as the COVID vaccine development is concerned. We know this fact that be it Pfizer, be it Moderna, so various other companies and countries are coming forward with their vaccine development plan. So now how can global collaborations can be formed? That can be one of the aspects as far as this BRICS Summit is concerned. Second important part that is very much likely, and that is about the economic growth aspect. We know this fact that because of COVID-19 pandemic, all the major economies have been hit hard. So now during the COVID pandemic, after the COVID crisis primarily, what can be the strategy? How can trade be increased as far as this grouping is concerned, as far as Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa are concerned. Now earlier also Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was addressing the SCO Summit, over there if you look at the prominent members of the SCO Summit, Russia, China were also the prominent members.
Right.
So at that time also Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned about the part that the physical connectivity should be ensured, but then no sovereignty should be compromised of any other country. So yes, all these aspects are very much important as far as this BRICS Summit is concerned.
All right, Arun, the first BRICS Summit was held in 2009, and it further evolved when South Africa joined the grouping, and it came to be known as BRICS as we know it today. I would want you to let us know more about its relevance on the global page, on the global platform. How important is BRICS as a grouping on the world page to discuss important issues of global stability, shared security and innovative growth, which are the themes of the grouping. Also in context of India taking up the chairmanship of the grouping. This will not be for the first time that India will be taking up the chairmanship, but how important is the footing of the grouping on the world page?
Absolutely. So this BRICS grouping is of various emerging economies that includes Russia, that includes China, that includes India as well. So it is believed that the 21st century belongs to Asia because this is the largest, all the major and the big economies belong to Asia. So yes, when you look at these BRICS economies holding a $20 trillion dollar of if we look at the primarily market cap, primarily you can say that so it is one of the largest groupings in that context. yes, South Africa is also another big market. So as far as providing of market is concerned to the world, be it Russia, be it China, be it India, be it South Africa, so these countries provide big market in that context. And as I mentioned earlier, that in 2021, primarily India would be holding the Brics Summit. So it is also very much important because earlier also India's held this Brics Summit in India.
Right.
I think we've lost contact there with Arun. We'll try getting back to him again to get more on that. So, meanwhile, he spelled out the details and the importance of the Brics Summit, which will be attended by Prime Minister today through the virtual format, and this will be the 12th Brics Summit.
Right, and well, the theme is global stability and shared security among various other issues that are likely to be taken up, and we'll have to wait and watch. Arun and our reporters will be there to tell you more as the day progresses.
All right, let's get to other updates. We'll talk of the state of Bihar. Now, Bihar Cabinet will hold its first meet today after Nitish Kumar was sworn in as the Chief Minister of Bihar for the 7th time yesterday. A total of 14 ministers were sworn in with Nitish Kumar. They include 7 from BJP, 5 from JDU and 1 each from JeM and VIP party. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Nitish Kumar and assured all possible support from the centre for welfare of Bihar.
With this oath began the 7th term of Nitish Kumar as Chief Minister of Bihar. Governor Phaggu Chauhan administered the oath of office and secrecy at the Raj Bhavan in Patna. In keeping with COVID protocols, Nitish Kumar was seen wearing a mask throughout the ceremony. A total of 14 ministers took oath. The first among them was BJP's Tarkishore Prasad. Next was Renu Devi. The other BJP MLAs to get berths were Mangal Pandey, Amrendra Pratap Singh, Dr. Rampreet Paswan, Jivesh Kumar Mishra and Ram Surat Kumar. From the JDU camp, Vijay Kumar Chaudhary, Vijendra Yadav, Ashok Chaudhary, Mewalal Chaudhary and Sheila Kumari were amongst those to take oath. Santosh Kumar from JeM, Mukesh Sahani from Vikassheel Insan Party. So in all, there are 7 ministers from BJP, 5 from JDU, 1 each from JeM and VIP in Bihar's NDA government. The event was attended by Union Home Minister Amit Shah and BJP Chief JP Nadda. PM Modi congratulated Team Nitish. In a tweet, he said, "Congratulations to Nitish Kumar ji on taking oath as Bihar's CM. I also congratulate all those who took oath as ministers in the Bihar government. The NDA family will work together for the progress of Bihar. I assure all possible support from the centre for the welfare of Bihar." Nitish Kumar began his political career as part of the JP movement, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Lalu Prasad and Ramvilas Paswan. His first assembly win came in 1985. He also won the Lok Sabha polls in 1989. In the 90s, he parted ways with the Janata Dal and Lalu Yadav to set up the Samata Party with Samajwadi leader George Fernandes. Nitish Kumar got a ministerial berth at the centre when the Samata Party entered into an alliance with BJP led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He held the agriculture, railways and road transport berths at the centre. Later, the Samata Party merged with Sharad Yadav's Janata Dal faction, resulting in the birth of JDU. Returning to state politics, he became Chief Minister for the first time on 3rd March 2000. Though his first government lasted only a week, Nitish has successfully governed Bihar for nearly 1.5 decades. He is also known as Sushasan or Good Governance Babu for transforming what was once known as Bimaru state. He now faces the challenge of tackling unemployment and the fallouts of COVID-19. With Dheeraj in Patna, DD India.
And senior Congress leader Kapil Sibal has once again questioned the length of time the party is taking to introspect on its loss of political space. The Congress underperformed in Bihar, winning 19 out of 70 seats it contested as part of the Mahagathbandhan. Sibal said the party knows what is wrong and its decline will continue without a course correction. Meanwhile, the RJD leader Shivanand Tiwari blamed Rahul Gandhi for the loss in Bihar. The BJP said the Congress leaders visit Bihar like tourists, showing no interest in the state. We tell you more in this report.
With diminishing status of the Congress party in most of the regions, it is fighting a lot of criticism and scathing attacks coming from all quarters, including insiders and loyalists. And to add to the misery of the Congress party, senior Congress leader and former Union Minister Kapil Sibal has spilled the beans, questioning the leadership and exposing the fissures within the party. In an interview given to One National Daily, Sibal said, "The people of the country, not just in Bihar but wherever by-elections were held, obviously don't consider the Congress to be an effective alternative. After all, the alternative in Bihar was the RJD. We lost all the by-elections in Gujarat. Even in the Lok Sabha elections, we had not won a single seat there. In some of the constituencies in UP, the Congress candidates in the by-elections notched up less than 2% of the votes cast. We know what is wrong with the Congress. The Congress party itself knows all the answers. If they do not recognize those answers, then the graph will continue to decline. Since there has been no dialogue and there seems to be no effort for a dialogue by the leadership, and since there is no forum to express my views, I am constrained to express them publicly. CWC is a nominated body. Democratic processes must be adopted and embraced even in the constitution of the CWC. You don't expect nominated members to start questioning and raise their concerns about the reasons for the constant decline of the Congress in elections after elections. The recent Bihar debacle says it all. Despite fighting on 70 seats, the Congress got wrapped up only on paltry 19 seats amidst grappling with infighting within the party and facing external attacks from other regional outfits. Prominent RJD leader Shivanand Tiwari, in a big jolt to Mahagathbandhan, attacked Rahul Gandhi, holding him responsible for miserable showing in recently concluded polls.
70 उम्मीदवार कांग्रेस के लड़े और कांग्रेस ने 70 सभा भी नहीं किया। राहुल गांधी 3 दिन के लिए आए, एक दिन में 2 सभाएं उन्होंने की, प्रियंका जी का दर्शन नहीं हुआ। इस तरह से तो आप पार्टी नहीं चला सकते। मैंने आप जो है यहाँ चुनाव हो रहा है, राहुल गांधी जो है प्रियंका जी के साथ जाकर के मैंने शिमला में उनके घर पर पिकनिक मना रहे हैं। इस तरह से पार्टी चलती है क्या?
Shivanand Tiwari's scathing remarks hitting at Rahul Gandhi have created ripples in political circles in Bihar, with war of words brewing between Congress and the BJP. BJP leader Shahnawaz Hussain, attacking Congress, said some of these Congress leaders paid tourist visits while campaigning in the state.
अनुभव उनका बराक ओबामा से कम नहीं है, इसलिए उनका जो आकलन है वो सही है। कांग्रेस के नेता बिहार में सिर्फ पॉलिटिकल टूरिज्म के लिए गए। ऐसे ऐसे कांग्रेस के नेता गए बिहार में प्रचार में जो गूगल से शहर तलाशते थे, जो पहली बार भी कई बार लोग वहां पर पहुंचे। और कांग्रेस पार्टी जो 70 विधानसभा में 70 सभा नहीं कर पाई, इतनी बड़ी पार्टी, उसके बारे में आकलन दिया है। तो कांग्रेस आरजेडी को आपस में तय करना चाहिए कौन सही कौन गलत है।
As a desperate measure, Congress and RJD tried to do some damage control.
पूरा समय उन्होंने दिया, पूरी दिलचस्पी उन्होंने ली, लेकिन जाहिर है कि आरजेडी की तरह या आरजेडी के नेता की तरह वो काम नहीं कर सकते। वो नेशनल पार्टी के एक राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष रहे हैं और नेता हैं।
After witnessing a massive drubbing in Bihar, more cracks are emerging inside and outside Congress. Many one-time loyalists questioning the leadership under Congress President Sonia Gandhi, former Vice President Rahul Gandhi and General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi. Many political pundits have called Congress's Bihar dismal show one of the worst poll disasters for the party. DD India.
The second phase of exercise Malabar 2020 will be conducted in the Northern Arabian Sea from today till November 20th. Taking forward the synergy achieved in the recently concluded phase 1 of exercise Malabar, which was conducted in the Bay of Bengal from November 3rd to 6th. This phase will involve coordinated operations of increasing complexity between the navies of Australia, India, Japan and the United States. Phase 2 of exercise Malabar 2020 will witness joint operations centered around Vikramaditya Carrier Battle Group of the Indian Navy and Nimitz Carrier Strike Group of the US Navy. The two carriers, along with other ships, submarines and aircraft of the participating navies, would be engaged in high-intensity naval operations over 4 days. Now, these exercises include cross-deck flying operations and advanced air defense exercises by MiG-29K fighters of Vikramaditya and F-18 fighters and E-2C Hawkeye from Nimitz. In addition, advanced surface and anti-submarine warfare exercises, seamanship evolutions and weapon firings will also be undertaken to further enhance interoperability and synergy between the two friendly navies. In addition to Vikramaditya and its fighter and helicopter air wings, indigenous destroyers Kolkata and Chennai, stealth frigate Talwar, fleet support ship Deepak and integral helicopters will also participate in the exercise. Indigenously built submarine Khanderi and P-8I maritime reconnaissance aircraft of the Indian Navy will also showcase other capabilities during the exercise. All right, our correspondent Nandita Dagar is joining us to get us more on that. Nandita, the second phase of exercise Malabar 2020 will begin from today in the Arabian Sea. Having said that, the first phase ended in the Bay of Bengal on 6th of November. Now, I would want you to let us know more about importance, significance, rather relevance of these two exercises, given the fact that, these four countries, part of the Quad grouping, these are conducting, coordinated and friendly exercises at a time when we've had a strong-worded review coming in from the US against China, and also India has expressed concern about expansionist policies of China. So put all this together, let us know how important are these exercises conducted in this specific region.
Yes, good morning, Preeti. What has happened is that all the four countries that are involved, the Malabar countries, India, Japan and US are traditionally the three navies which participate in the Malabar exercises. This year we've invited a fourth one, Australia, and incidentally all these four happen to be the Quad countries. So obviously it is something that will irk China, number one. Number two is that you can see that we have a standoff or on our borders, in the northern borders in eastern Ladakh, and therefore India is someone that is trying to give us message to China, and is trying to give a message in the the first phase of the exercises was conducted in Bay of Bengal, and this one in the Northern Arabian Sea. So Pakistan and China, even if there is a two-front war scenario, India is trying to give a signal along with its friendly neighboring country, friendly Malabar participating nations, that it is fully prepared to take on the challenge. Now, just consider two carrier battle groups: the India's Vikramaditya, which is the erstwhile Gorshkov, and of course the American Nimitz carrier group. Now there is immense force projection which is happening in the oceans with these two battle groups, and firings taking place, air defense exercises, which means that they will be taking down simulated targets, they will be engaging them, they will also be hunting for submarines, enemy submarines. This is a clear signal to both China, because the earlier phase took place in the Bay of Bengal or the southern Bay of Bengal, this in the Northern Arabian Sea. So there is a message to Pakistan as well. And as you know, Preeti, the US is also an aggrieved party. Japan is an aggrieved party. Australia this year is an aggrieved party. Just remember that in the year 2007, we had invited Australia, and Australia had taken part and backed out because of the pressure from China at that point of time. This year, Australia is facing a trade war initiated by China, and the ban of its raw materials, export of meat and other products, coal, etc. Japan, of course, is facing a problem with China over the dispute over Senkaku Islands. US, of course, is saying that since China has waged a war on the US through its trade war, technology war, is stealing intellectual property. So they is also engaging in theft of and espionage, and of course responsible for the coronavirus. So all these parties have all come together, and they are sending a very big signal. And just imagine when two carrier battle groups, they come together, it is a very, very strong message indeed. Preeti?
Right, a very strong message. In addition to the strategic importance, Nandita, well, we'll also see India showcasing, in a way, her growing defense capabilities, in the sense that indigenous destroyers Kolkata and Chennai stealth frigate Talwar will be participating in this wonderful naval exercise.
Yes, good morning, Rukma. That's a very good question. Yes, India's homegrown capabilities, the Chennai and the Kolkata, the INS Chennai, the INS Kolkata, these are two destroyers which have been built with the Indian might, Indian muscle. They have all been built in the Garden Reach shipyard at Kolkata and, the Mazagaon Docks shipyard at Mumbai, and they are homegrown with 90% of their content being indigenous. The steel, which was a breakthrough because the steel was very a revolutionary kind of steel, has been used in this. The stealth frigate Talwar, Deepak of course is the fuel tanker. So these are all showcasing Indian capabilities. Yet we also have a significant component of the US imports from the US. For example, the P-8I, which is a maritime reconnaissance aircraft. It is used to hunt the enemy submarines. It flies over the oceans and through sonars and other sensors detects enemy submarines. And China must be keeping a watch on these exercises through its submarines very secretively, and it usually does. And the Indian Navy has always detected the presence of Chinese submarines. So this time too, we are expecting that it will be no different. The Chinese would be trying to snoop in. Yes.
All right, Nandita, thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent Nandita telling us more about the significance and the relevance of the second phase of Malabar Exercise 2020. Remember, the first phase of the exercise was conducted in the Bay of Bengal from 3rd till 6th of November. And in the Arabian Sea, this second phase will be conducting beginning today.
Moving on now, after 8 months of the shutdown of colleges in Karnataka due to the pandemic, they are all set to reopen from today. The state government has released standard operating procedures for colleges and hostels. Students have been given the option to attend college online. Also, teachers and non-teaching staff have been instructed to undergo RT-PCR test for COVID-19 and attend only if the report is negative. The test is valid for 72 hours in the absence of any symptoms. Further, everyone will undergo thermal scanning before entering the college. There are around 432 colleges with more than 60,000 students, teachers and non-teaching staff there. Colleges are expecting around 30% student attendance initially. As they are gradually expected to start coming to college, a few teams will be deployed near colleges to test them on subsequent days. Medical officers will monitor the developments.
India has reported less than 50,000 new daily cases for the 8th continuous day. In the last 24 hours, only 41,100 persons were found to be infected with COVID in India. Daily new cases last crossed the 50,000 threshold on 7th of November. Now, apart from the successful dissemination of COVID-appropriate behavior among the varied population groups, this trend assumes wider significance as many countries in Europe and America continue to see a surge in their daily numbers.
And now let's take a look at the COVID situation across various states. In National Capital Delhi, 3,797 new cases of infections were reported yesterday. 3,560 patients were cured and discharged, while 99 patients died in the past 24 hours. Currently, there are 40,128 active cases in Delhi. In Kerala, 2,710 new cases of infections were reported yesterday. 6,567 patients were cured and discharged, while 19 patients died in the past 24 hours. In Maharashtra, 2,535 new cases were registered yesterday. 3,001 patients were discharged, while 60 patients died in the past 24 hours. Currently, there are 84,386 active cases in the state. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu continues to make progress in the fight against COVID-19, with daily positivity rates staying below the 2,000 mark for the 4th day in a row. As per the daily official bulletin, a total of 1,725 persons tested positive for the disease across the state yesterday. 2,384 patients were discharged, while 17 deaths were also reported in the past 24 hours. Karnataka reported a major decline in cases. New cases reported stand at 1,157. Bangalore reported over 597 only in 24 hours, and more than a dozen districts reported in single digits. In Jammu and Kashmir, 5,588 are active positive, while 95,824 have recovered. 1,597 deaths have taken place due to the pandemic in the Union Territory. Moreover, 482 more COVID patients have recovered and been discharged from various hospitals.
Bharat Biotech has announced commencement of Phase 3 trials of COVAXIN. The Phase 3 trials will involve 26,000 volunteers across India, conducted in partnership with ICMR. Now, it is the largest clinical trial conducted for a COVID-19 vaccine in India. Trial volunteers will receive 2 intramuscular injections approximately 20 days apart.
And Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan chaired the 147th WHO Executive Board meeting via video conferencing. Delivering his opening remarks, the minister commended the role of WHO in the past 10 months of the pandemic. He also called to enhance collaboration, cooperation among member states for efficient, responsible discharge of public health obligations.
This is the time that we must enhance our cooperation and collaboration. We must work in unison with each other as member states, with all UN organizations, as well as the global community of partners for efficient, effective, and responsive discharge of public health obligations.
Well, up next, we get you updates from across the world in our segment Across the Globe. We'll get you updates on the current COVID situation globally.
Right, comments made by Donald Trump as well as Joe Biden, and well, good news on the vaccine front as well. Take a look at all that and more in our segment Across the Globe.
First, we begin this section by taking a look at the global update on COVID-19. The virus has so far infected more than 5 crore 53 lakh people and over 3 crore 84 lakh people have recovered, while the virus has claimed 13 lakh 31,000 lives worldwide. The US and Brazil continue to remain worst affected from COVID-19, with number of cases passing 1 crore 15 lakh in the US. More than 2 lakh 52,000 lives have been lost in the US due to COVID-19, while Brazil trails behind it in terms of death toll.
US biotech firm Moderna on Monday announced its experimental vaccine against COVID-19 was 94.5% effective in preventing COVID-19 based on interim data from a late-stage clinical trial, becoming the second US company in a week to report results that far exceed expectations. Moderna released early results from a clinical trial with more than 30,000 participants after American pharmaceutical company Pfizer last week said their vaccine was 90% effective. A key advantage of Moderna's vaccine is that it does not need ultra-cold storage like Pfizer's, making it easier to distribute. Moderna expects it to be stable at standard refrigerator temperatures of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for 30 days, and it can be stored for up to 6 months at -20 degrees Celsius, whereas Pfizer's vaccine requires to be shipped and stored at -70 degrees Celsius.
US President Donald Trump said that such great discoveries all took place on his watch. In a tweet, he said, and I quote him, "Another vaccine just announced, this time by Moderna, 95% effective. For those great historians, please remember that these great discoveries which will end China plague all took place on my watch."
US President-elect Joe Biden also congratulated the team. In a tweet, Biden said, "Today's news of a second vaccine is further reason to feel hopeful. What was true with the first vaccine remains true with the second. We are still months away. Until then, Americans need to continue to practice social distancing and mask wearing to get the virus under control. Once again, I congratulate the brilliant women and men who produced this breakthrough and have brought us one step closer to beating this virus. I am also thankful for the frontline workers who are still confronting the virus round the clock."
Meanwhile, the European Union Health Commissioner has said that the European Union is in talks with Moderna to secure doses of its COVID-19 vaccine candidate, but negotiations had not been wrapped up. The Commissioner also said that preliminary testing results announced by the US biotech firm are encouraging. Last week, the Commission reached a deal with Pfizer and BioNTech on the supply of their potential COVID-19 vaccine hours after the companies announced their positive results.
And the World Health Organization has said that the challenge of the COVID pandemic is not a choice between life and livelihoods, but that they are both parts of the same fight. It also said that there was no time for complacency in confronting coronavirus despite positive news about possible vaccines. The statements were made hours after Moderna said its experimental vaccine is 94.5% effective in preventing COVID-19 based on interim data from a late-stage trial, becoming the second US drug maker to report results that far exceed expectations. This comes after last week's announcement from Pfizer, which said its vaccine is also more than 90% effective. Ghebreyesus says G20 leaders would meet this weekend, giving them an opportunity to commit financially and politically to the COVAX global facility set up to provide COVID-19 vaccines to poorer countries. WHO Chief Scientist Soumya Swaminathan said that news on Moderna vaccine is encouraging and that she expects to be very limited COVID vaccine doses available in the first half of 2021.
Also, Britain is expecting to start rolling out the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine just before Christmas if it is declared safe and effective. Britain's Health Minister Matt Hancock said that the government was working very closely with the American pharmaceutical firm and would be ready to start the vaccine rollout from December 1st if given the green signal by then. However, he cautioned that the start date would more likely be closer to Christmas, with the bulk of the rollout in early 2021. The number of COVID-19 cases in the United Kingdom are more than 13,90,000, with over 52,000 fatalities.
And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said he was perfectly well after coming into contact with a COVID-19 person and will drive the government forward via Zoom while he self-isolates for 2 weeks in Downing Street. Johnson had earlier announced that he had been told by the NHS Test and Trace scheme to self-isolate for 2 weeks after it was confirmed that a lawmaker, Lee Anderson, who attended a 35-minute meeting with him, had tested positive. Boris Johnson had also got COVID-19 in March this year.
Russia has turned its Moscow-based ice rink into a temporary hospital to handle the influx of COVID-19 patients. In Moscow, the Krylatsko Ice Palace, known for hosting international speed skating competitions, is now on the front line after being converted into a temporary hospital for COVID-19 patients. It opened last month. Though better resourced than other regions, authorities in Moscow are under severe pressure. The country has reported more than 19,48,000 cases of the virus, with more than 33,400 deaths so far.
And taking a tough stance towards reported cases of people not wearing masks in public places despite a government order, the Bangladesh government has decided to use mobile courts in order to ensure that people wear masks. Briefing media in Dhaka after the cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Cabinet Secretary Khandkar Anwarul Islam said that the government has decided to take tougher measures as COVID may show a rising trend in the country. He said that concerned authorities have been ordered to conduct mobile court operations in Dhaka to implement the government order on wearing masks in public places. Earlier, the government of Bangladesh had ordered a strict implementation of a no mask, no service policy, making masks compulsory in all offices and public places. Meanwhile, Bangladesh reported 21 deaths and 2,139 fresh cases of COVID-19 in the country, according to latest figures released by the Directorate General of Health Services. The death toll due to coronavirus in the country has gone up to 6,217, while the total number of infections has reached 4,34,000. The recovery rate in the country has improved to 80.82%.
In Armenia, thousands of people marched through the capital demanding Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan to resign. The outrage came over a ceasefire that secured territorial advances for Azerbaijan in Nagorno-Karabakh after 6 weeks of fighting. The ceasefire signed by leaders of Armenia, Azerbaijan and Russia, halting military action in and around Nagorno-Karabakh region, has ended worst fighting in the region and has been seen as Azerbaijan's victory. The fighting over Nagorno-Karabakh resumed in September this year when ethnic Armenians held military control over the entire mountainous pocket and substantial swathes of Azeri territory, ringing it.
And there's some breaking news coming in from Delhi. Delhi police have arrested 2 terrorists of Jaish-e-Mohammed. Both terrorists belong to Jammu and Kashmir. The terrorists were planning a terrorist attack. And there you can see it on your screens. Breaking news coming in from Delhi. 2 terrorists have been captured by Delhi police. Both belong to Jammu and Kashmir and were planning a terror attack.
All right, we'll keep you updated once more developments surface with regard to this breaking news. But at present, we will go across to our correspondent and colleague Nancy, who will be joining us with Web Review. Now, Web Review is a segment we get for you every day, wherein our colleague joins in and lets us know what all has been put forth by different web portals on the social media. Nancy is joining us for that.
A very good morning to you, Nancy. Tell us what's trending on social media and news web portals this morning.
Absolutely right. Good morning, Preeti and Rukma. Yes, let's get you through what's making it to the headlines this morning. Well, let's begin with this item from the Tribune, where it says that now order Aadhaar PVC card online for 50 rupees. In fact, the Unique Identification Authority of India has now launched a new order Aadhaar card service that facilitates the Aadhaar holder to get their details printed on a PVC card by paying nominal charges. So what it means is that residents who do not have registered mobile number can also in fact order non-registered alternate mobile number, and this is the facility of ordering PVC card is available online, and it costs only 50 rupees, which includes all the taxes and delivery via speed post. The authority has in fact notified in a tweet. Moving on now, this is in fact a worrying development that's been taking place for all us, the Delhiites, and of course the ones living in the NCR as well. The air quality worsening. Researchers from Delhi University and the JNU have now pointed to particulate matter 1.0 threat. In fact, from 6th to 11th November, the city saw high levels of pollution and a visible haze. The researchers have pointed out that the haze caused by the winter and the moisture in the air also had a high concentration of particulate matter 1.0. Now, this kind of particulate matter is harmful, but unfortunately, there are not many mechanisms available in Delhi to really control the situation. Okay, moving on now to this piece of opinion that I picked up as far as Virat Kohli's absence does that favor Australia. We have it questioned by Pat Cummins, the pacer. In fact, Virat Kohli's absence in the last 3 tests against Australia has become a huge point of discussion in the cricketing circle. Remember, now the Indian captain has been granted paternity leave for the birth of his first child, as we all know, and he will only be returning home after the conclusion of the first test in Adelaide. Now, Pat Cummins, in fact, is of the opinion that such an opportunity is in fact a waiting opportunity, so that maybe new opportunity will be the beginning of someone else's career. To be honest with the captain, he says that he'll be missed, but the Indian cricket side always finds some incredible batsmen. And moving on now, while astronomers discover unusual bright light that cannot be explained, now the NASA in fact was able to also capture the glow within 3 days using the Hubble Space Telescope, but the results were baffling. Astronomers have come across a unique celestial event as they discover the brightest infrared light from a short gamma ray burst ever seen. Now, the reason why this is so important is because the glow produced is brighter than what was previously considered as maximum. Moving on now, in fact, this is something very interesting, Preeti and Rukma, that I would like to share with you, in fact, and also our viewers. This is the scuba diver there, of course, the video also being shared and getting viral of a scuba diver staying underwater for 6 days.
Well, I think we've lost contact there with Nancy, so that was it when we talked of the web review this morning.
Right, and well, in our next segment, we'll be giving you all the highlights from the world of sports. As Preeti mentioned earlier in the day, the news about the Tokyo Olympics. Also, COVID continues to victimize more, well, to claim victims even in the sports world, high-flying sports persons. Take a look in Sports Track. International Olympic Committee Chief Thomas Bach expressed confidence that the Tokyo Games will be held successfully next year, even allowing spectators to attend, as the world grapples with a sharp rise in COVID infections. The IOC president spent the day with the Tokyo organizers discussing how to stage the massive sporting event during an unprecedented pandemic and ensure safety for a gathering of more than 11,000 international athletes. The visit is Bach's first to the Japanese capital since he and former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe decided in March to postpone the 2020 Games to next year.
All this makes us even more confident that we can have there next year a reasonable number of spectators in the stadia, and therefore enjoy the Olympic spirit. We know that we will even have more COVID countermeasures in our toolbox than we have now. We know that there will be a more sophisticated rapid testing regime available. There you see new developments by the month, if not by the week, all over the world. And we can also be more confident that they are most likely that there will be vaccines being available.
Top seed Novak Djokovic started his bid for a record equaling 6th ATP finals with a classy win over Argentine debutant Diego Schwartzman. The 33-year-old Serb, who has not won the event since 2015, eased to a 6-3, 6-1 victory at the O2 Arena in London. In the other match, Russian 4th seed Daniil Medvedev earned his final ATP final match win by beating German 5th seed Alexander Zverev. Medvedev lost all his group matches in 2019 but began with a 6-3, 6-4 win this year.
And Uruguay forward Luis Suarez has tested positive for COVID-19, along with stand-in goalkeeper Rodrigo Munoz plus a staff member, according to Uruguay national team statement. While other members of the squad had all tested negative ahead of Tuesday's World Cup qualifier at home to Brazil, the statement added that both players and the staff member were in good health. The team had followed protocol and taken the appropriate measures following the results. Suarez, who scored a penalty in Uruguay's 3-0 win over Colombia on Friday, is now ruled out of the match with Brazil. He will almost certainly also miss his club's La Liga match against his former club Barcelona on November 21st.
Time now to get to our health segment, wherein we get you one tip, one report every day to make sure you remain in good health and spirit. The National Epilepsy Day is being observed today. Epilepsy causes recurrent seizures. Our correspondent Kiran Bharadwaj spoke to Dr. Shefali Gulati about the first aid that may help to prevent injuries during the seizures and also keep the person safe.
Epilepsy affects almost 2% children in the country. What first aid should be given at the time of seizure? To talk about this, we have with us Dr. Shefali Gulati. Dr. Shefali, what should be the first aid during the seizure that should be given to the child?
Most importantly is that parents should not panic. And then the second important thing is positioning of the child during seizure. You should be putting the child in a lateral position, preferably a left lateral position, but it can depend on the type of seizure the child is having. And it's important to understand that we have a food pipe and a windpipe which are there present anterior posteriorly. So whenever you have a seizure, you may have a tendency to vomit. And that vomitus, if it goes to the windpipe, can cause even instantaneous death. And if we are safe from that, it can cause aspiration pneumonia. So it is important by just putting the child lateral. Secondly, the child should be cushioned and positioned in a way that child do not hurt himself or herself during the episode of seizure. A small baby can be put in the lap only, and a bigger child can be made even on the sofa or the floor or the bed. We can have cushions around so that he or she does not get hurt by the corner of the bed or any rod or anything present. So that has to be kept as important.
What precautions should be kept with an epileptic child?
If you have the first episode of seizure, then you won't have any abortive management treatment available at home. But when you have a second episode of seizure, when the treatment has already been started, you should have some nasal sprays which are available. The nasal sprays are available and that you should be giving and the prescribed dosage 3 minutes after, if the seizure is continuing for beyond 3 minutes. That is very important. And we have made a card for the children for going for school. In the anterior part of the card, we just have the demographic profile, and in the posterior part of the card, we have put the recovery position of the child and the nasal spray doses. And we have requested the parents that they should laminate the card and give it with the child, and keep 2 nasal sprays, one in the school bag and one at home. And we have also made a seizure diary which is there in the first 2 pages of the seizure diary. We have what are the do's and don'ts for epilepsy, and then we have what is the recovery position. So these are available on our website, and even the video of how exactly to take care of the child at the domiciliary level is on the website.
What should be avoided during the seizure to prevent the child from secondary injuries or damage?
One should not try to open the mouth or put anything inside the mouth. It can lead to some fractures and all, and it can be very dangerous. And we should ensure that the child is cushioned from the surroundings so that he or she does not hurt or injure himself, the head or any of the legs or anything, and should not fall down.
What are the restrictions or the precautions that should be kept if a child is having recurrent seizures?
First and foremost, parents have a tendency to hide from the school. They should not be hiding from the school, and they should be telling the school what the child has and show the prescription and this card which has been made for them. And if when the child is having seizures, it's new onset seizures and or they are having quite a few seizures, and then they are advised not to go for swimming or cycling initially, but once they are controlled, then they can do it in a supervised manner. And the parents are also should be confiding in the teachers everything whatever they've been told by the doctors. This is very, very crucial.
Thank you, Dr. Shefali. If your child has epilepsy, it is important that you give proper and complete treatment and also take some precautions to maintain the quality of life of your child. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
And so very useful tips there. Our reporter with the specialist in the field. Well, it's the 17th of November today. Let's take a look at the events that made this day special in history.
That the Suez Canal was opened in Egypt, linking the Mediterranean and the Red Seas. The 100-mile canal eliminated a 4,000-mile trip around Africa. Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III, together with Ferdinand de Lesseps, chief architect of the canal, led the first file of ships from on board the French imperial yacht Aigle. It was on this day in 1920 that the Indian film actor Ramaswamy Ganesan was born in Pudukottai in Tamil Nadu. Ganesan, who worked mainly in Tamil cinema, was better known by his stage name Gemini Ganesan. Together with his contemporaries Sivaji Ganesan and M.G. Ramachandran, popularly known as MGR, Gemini Ganesan was one of the 3 best-known actors of the 20th century Tamil cinema. It was on this day in 1928 that Lala Lajpat Rai died in Lahore, Pakistan, after being seriously wounded in a barbarous lathi charge carried out by the police. Lala Lajpat Rai, who was popularly known as the Punjab Kesari, was the founder of the Indian Home League Society of America. He was one of the foremost leaders who fought against British rule in India. It was on this day in 1966 that India's beauty queen Rita Faria was crowned as Miss World in the World Beauty Contest held in London. She was crowned by Miss World 1965 Leslie Langley of the United Kingdom. It was on this day in 2012 that Shiv Sena founder Bal Thackeray breathed his last at Mumbai. The 86-year-old cartoonist turned politician had started his career as a cartoonist with the Free Press Journal in the 1950s. In 1966, he formed the Shiv Sena with the idea of fighting for the rights of Marathis.
Alright, those were the events which made this day special in history. Up next, we'll take a look at the weather and the temperatures across major cities and towns of the country. A trough in the easterlies run from Cameroon area to north coastal Tamil Nadu, and another trough runs from Maldives to southeast Arabian Sea off Kerala coast in lower levels. Because of this, scattered to fairly widespread rainfall accompanied with thunderstorm and lightning, and isolated heavy rainfall is likely over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal and Kerala during today and tomorrow, and Lakshadweep tomorrow. Also, that is today, under the impact of a fresh western disturbance, light isolated and scattered rains or snow is very likely over western Himalayan region from 18th to 20th November.
And moderate fog in isolated pockets very likely over the northeast next 3 days, and shallow to moderate fog likely over Rajasthan in the next 2 days. Minimum temperatures very likely to fall gradually by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius over northwest India, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Bihar and West Bengal and Sikkim in the next 4 to 5 days. Let's take a look now at temperatures across the country. Well, we've come to the end of this edition of Breakfast News. As always, we'll be leaving you with a glimpse of something special. Today, it's a glimpse of Mother's Day celebrations in North Korea.
Take a look at these visuals, but we'll end Breakfast Show on this quick reminder of you, asking you to join the Mask Up India initiative, which we're running on DD India and DD News. Remember, it's just a simple task. Wear a mask, but wear it correctly and properly, because this is the best, the most cost-effective means of saving yourself and people around you from COVID-19. With that, we'll take your leave. Bye-bye.
Enjoy these glimpses and wear a mask.